Summer is coming. It's almost here. Let's chat homeschool plans for the summer. Hey y'all, first of all, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Kaela, a second-generation homeschool mom to 4 girls. I have a rising 6th grader, a rising 3rd grader, a 2.5-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And I've homeschooled my 2 older girls since the beginning. We are transitioning right now from the 2024-2025 school year into our summer lineup, our summer schedule, and getting ready and getting prepped for the 2025-2026 homeschool year. I know that there's a range here. Some of us are wrapping up a homeschool year, or maybe we've already wrapped our homeschool year. Some of us like to take that substantial traditional summer break from academics, from homeschooling, while others prefer to homeschool year-round, or they might have a non-traditional start and end date for their homeschool year. But I think a lot of us do things a little bit differently in the summer. Whether that means we're taking a break, we're doing some traveling, we're doing summer camps, our kids are focusing on sports or extracurriculars, or in my case, we are still homeschooling technically, but we're doing a much lighter lineup and we're keeping more free time open over the summer. I'd love to hear from y'all, so be sure to share your summer plans, how your homeschool typically looks over the summer, what your family usually is spending a lot of time on in the summer months. Let's chat about all the summer fun in the comments down below. So I think what I'll do is I'll share what each kiddo is going to be working on individually over the course of the summer, and then I will talk about specific things that I have planned for each month, for May, for June, and for July. Okay, so let's start with my kiddo who's transitioning from 2nd to 3rd grade. She's finished her main math curriculum for 2nd grade. However, and I think I've already shared some of this with y'all, she has needed some additional practice and review with some of her main foundational math facts. I have 2 main supplement resources that we're going to be using over the summer to help her really get down addition facts. And then if we have time, we'll also review subtraction facts. That's one of my big main goals with her over the summer, is to really get some math review. So I have this Math Mammoth book. This is the Blue Series Edition 1 book. It is a very small, fully in color workbook that reviews all of your main addition facts in various ways. And she's already started this. So my plan with this is to just have her do a couple of pages every single day. So far, it's been very easy for her. Obviously, this is review and practice, so she's not learning any new concepts. She's actually really liking this. She thinks it's fun because it's relatively easy for her. So I will probably pick up the subtraction book from Math Mammoth as well, and maybe she can get through both of those over the summer. I also have Addition Facts That Stick. This is by Kate Snow, who is the creator of the Math with Confidence curriculum, which I know is so popular. As of right now, I don't feel like we need to switch our main math curriculum, but Math with Confidence, I have to admit, I have a little bit of FOMO over it, and it's definitely something that I'm keeping on my radar in case we ever do need to switch math curricula, and maybe that would be a good option. But for now, Kate Snow has these great supplement books. She has addition facts that stick, subtraction facts that stick, multiplication and division facts that stick. And basically, this is a course that is meant to take 6 weeks to really anchor down your addition facts. And so theoretically, we should be able to get through at least one of these over the summer. I don't know if we'll be able to finish this and the subtraction facts, but I definitely plan on finishing this at the very least. This has workbook pages that are consumable. For the most part, it is games and activities that are meant for you to play with your child. And so you can make copies of these game pages. You can tear them out. They are perforated. And Kate Snow's recommendation for this is that you spend 15 minutes a day working through these activities, these games. There's practice sheets. You're really just doing that focused work on addition facts to nail them down, get them really anchored in your child's mind. So we've already started this as well. We're actually already on week 4 in this. So if we keep going at the rate that we're going, there's a really good chance we might get to the subtraction versions of both of these. So far, they have been a hit. We're enjoying them, and I'm definitely seeing some retention and some memorization starting to come from her. And then in addition to these, she's also going to be doing some digital math games. She's really enjoying Bottle right now, which was a game that a fellow homeschool mom recommended to us. She plays it on her iPad. She thinks it is just fun, and she's getting tons of math review and math practice, grade level math work on there. So yeah, I'm hoping that all of these things will just keep reinforcing concepts that she's learned, getting her ready to move into 3A with Dimensions Math this fall. So in addition to some math supplementation and review and practice, my rising third grader will also be continuing with a few of her core language arts things because we're really close to wrapping these up. So it just makes sense to sort of keep that downhill momentum. So she'll be continuing over the next couple of weeks with All About Reading Level 3. She is probably going to be finished in 3 or 4 weeks. Same thing with All About Spelling Level 1. She just has a few lessons left in that. So we will just continue at our pace of doing about 1 or 2 lessons a week until she's wrapped that up. I think we worked out the math, and with Beowulf's grammar, if she does like 1 or 2 pages a day, about 3 to 5 pages a week, she will be totally done with Beowulf's Grammar Book 2 by the end of June. So she has about like 2 more months with it. And I really do want her to finish Book 2 because we plan on starting Book 3 with Beowulf's Grammar in the fall. And this is like a very low pressure, fun, easy grammar program. It feels like the perfect thing to do over the summer. It's mostly independent. Sometimes I need to sit there and go over some of the new grammar concepts with her, but for the most part, they explain things really clearly. So if your child is good at reading things independently and they have good comprehension, Beowulf's grammar is just very intuitive and easy to use. So that is something that she'll continue with over the next few weeks. And then the last thing that she is going to continue with that we've already been working on is her handwriting book with Zayner Blozer. She has been working on 2C with handwriting. It definitely doesn't make sense to me for her to have a long break from cursive practice, especially since cursive was new for her this year. It's been a little bit of a challenge for her. So I think it'll be better for us to just stick with it and keep that practice going over the summer. Even if it's just 1 page or 2 pages a day, it doesn't take a lot of time. So that'll be really easy to keep going over the summer. Okay, so now let's talk about my rising 6th grader. She is still working through 5B with Dimensions. I believe she wraps on that next week. I'm pretty sure she has like 4 lessons left. So that is really exciting. She will be done with math. My oldest did really well with Dimensions 5A and 5B. She has been like 90% independent with her math this year thanks to the video lessons. So I don't think that she needs additional review and practice with math. I will probably just let her start her 6A books when she's ready. probably late July or August. She doesn't typically struggle with losing some of her math if she takes a long break from it. So I'm not too worried about her continuing to practice or work on anything for math. For her language arts, her main curriculum for her 5th grade year was Hearth and Story, and she's finishing the different components of Hearth and Story at different times, which is totally fine, totally to be expected. I believe the poetry component she'll wrap in about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. The brain food component, we have saved one project for the summer. So ironically, she has completed all of the brain food lessons except for the project that is at the very beginning. It seemed to me like it was better to save for the end of the year or over the summer, so that is what we did. It's a biography project, so she can pick literally any person that she would like and make a presentation about that person. Not necessarily a written essay biography, but like a visual presentation. I'm imagining she's probably going to use Canva to make some slides. She did already use ChatGPT to decide on the person that she would like to research and do her presentation on. So that's going to be a really fun project for her to work on over a few weeks. And then once that's done, she will have finished all of the brain food component for Hearth and Story 5th grade. She'll also be wrapping the spelling component. She has, I believe, 2 more spelling lists, and she has sped up her momentum with spelling to where she's doing 2 lists a week instead of 1 list a week. So she'll be done with spelling next week. The Hearth and Story literature units, she only got to 1 of them this year, but she is wrapping it up. That was her first independent literature unit, independent novel study. She has really, really enjoyed it. Actually, both of us have, because I've been following along and listening to the audiobook as she's reading it and trying to stay a chapter or 2 ahead of her so that I know what's going on. She's actually going to be finishing the last chapter today. So by the time you see this, she will have already wrapped that novel study. The rest of the literature units from the 5th grade year, I'm just going to have her roll into 6th grade with those. So we're going to pause on Hearth and Story literature over the summer. My oldest daughter has also been using Beowulf's grammar, and she's about neck and neck with her younger sister. So just like my younger daughter, I'm going to have her continue with it, keep that momentum, and wrap up book 2 with Beowulf's grammar. I forgot to mention this with my younger daughter, but it applies to both girls. We are pausing write by number for the summer. Once I show you some of the new things we're getting into for the summer, it will probably make sense because it's going to be writing heavy. There's a lot of writing involved in these units. So I feel very comfortable pausing on write by number for both the girls, and then we will just pick it back up in the fall. And then similarly, my oldest is also going to pause the formal writing lessons with Hearth and Story 5th grade. So when all is said and done for my oldest with Hearth and Story 5th grade, she will have finished the poetry, the spelling, the brain food, and she'll have to pick back up the literature, the writing, and the grammar in the fall. Okay, let's talk about the new things. This is where I'm really excited. For the month of May, each of my daughters is going to have their own independent literature/language arts unit. And when I say independent, I mean that they're going to be doing them independently from each other. I am still going to be working alongside each of them through these units. My rising 3rd grader is going to be doing a novel study for Ramona Quimby, age 8 by Beverly Cleary. I'm really excited for my daughter to read this and to read it with her. She is 8. So I wanted to read this with her while she's still 8. She'll be 9 in the fall. And I'm also excited to try a resource that is new to us. These are the literature kits from Classroom Complete Press. They are very affordable. I will have all of these resources linked down below just in case you are interested. They have these literature kits for multiple books and multiple grade levels. They're available on Amazon. Like I said, a really great price. What I am liking about this so far, and we've only just started, we're like into chapter 2 now. The activities are simple and straightforward. I would definitely say this is a traditional style resource. It's designed for the public school classroom, but it has been really easy to modify it for an individual kid, for a homeschooler. All of their activities are based on Bloom's taxonomy for reading comprehension, which I think is pretty cool. They also have an assessment rubric, a really detailed yet minimal teacher's guide. It's not an overwhelming amount of text, but it gives you lots of great information that's helpful. They have a vocabulary list for each chapter, a bio on the author, Beverly Cleary, and then for each chapter of the book, you have a section called Before You Read and a section called After You Read. And each section is going to have different activities. So there are questions that are designed to be writing prompts. You could also just discuss those questions with your child in conversation. We're also going to go over the vocabulary words. There's going to be some comprehension, little multiple choice questions or true or false questions. If you did use this as it's written and as it's designed, it's quite writing heavy. There are lots of questions for each chapter, and they want those questions to be answered in complete sentences. There's also a great comprehension quiz at the end of this unit. So after you complete the entire book, we have 12 questions or writing prompts, which is great. And then you have your answer key, and you also have some full color graphic organizers to help you do a little bit more analyzing of the story, a particular character. So that is going to be the May unit for my rising 3rd grader. For my rising 6th grader, she is going to be diving in with the Renaissance. We already covered the European Renaissance in our History Quest Middle Times curriculum. We did that as a group family subject, but Core Knowledge Language Arts has a 5th grade level unit on the Renaissance, and it looked so good. I really wanted my daughter to do it. And she actually told me, like, I do want to learn more about the Renaissance. I do want to go a little bit deeper. History Quest is kind of, you know, broad and shallow with a lot of the historical periods and civilizations that you're covering. So it's a great jumping off point if you do want to go in deeper with some of these things. And we're going in deeper with the Renaissance, with a Core Knowledge Language Arts unit. The way that I'm going to go about doing this unit with my daughter is I put the student reader on her iPad, so she will be reading that digitally. And then I went through the giant, I think it was like 200 or 300 pages. So it's an activity book PDF file, just pages on pages on pages. And I selected through that the pages that I thought would be really beneficial for her. She's not doing all of them, but I would say she's doing most of them. It's probably ended up being about 2/3 of the activity pages. It's a lot of writing, it's vocabulary study, it's comprehension, it's all the things. As usual, Core Knowledge does not disappoint. It's a very rich unit, a very rigorous unit. Rather than printing out all of those pages and then being stuck with them and trying to figure out how to store them and how to keep them, I went ahead and started replicating the worksheets into her notebook by hand. It took a couple of hours. I worked on this for like 3 evenings, a little bit at a time. I'm sure for a lot of people, this might seem a little nuts and a little bit like a waste of time, but for me, it makes total sense. I prefer to have all or most of our schoolwork in our grade level notebooks from School Nest. Those become our portfolio for the year. They become our keepsake, and I try to squeeze as much as I can, even if we have, binders and printable worksheets and workbooks and all of these other things going on. I try to get as much as I can into those grade level notebooks. Sometimes that means we're pasting pages in, but I'm also replicating pages so that I don't have to print and paste them in. A lot of the activity pages are pretty self-explanatory and they are tied to a specific chapter in the student reader. So for me, it's fairly easy to implement. Like, I assign a chapter for her to read and we do the activity pages. And then I assign a chapter for her to read and we do the activity pages. And I have the answer key for all the activity pages. So that's how I have prepped the Core Knowledge Language Arts unit on the Renaissance for her. So that will be May. My plan is for us to completely wrap those units in 1 month, in 4 weeks or less. And then in June, we are going to dive into something that I have been waiting a while for, because this is actually a unit I was hoping to get to last spring, summer. So now we're doing it this June. And that is a Shakespeare unit. My initial plan for this unit is that it is going to just be for the month of June, but if we are enjoying ourselves, if there is more that we want to dive into, we can easily carry this into July as well. Y'all know that Shakespeare, I mean, you can just keep going and going and going with Shakespeare. So we will see if we have a natural concluding point at the end of June, or if we want to go a couple more weeks with it. Shakespeare is another thing that we just barely touched on right at the end of History Quest Middle Times. It was actually perfect because they give you like a little teaser, a little taste. My kids know who he is. You know, we read The Bard of Avon. We discussed him a little bit, discussed his life. They're vaguely, very vaguely familiar with some of his works. So it was the perfect introduction and teaser for our summer unit. So I'm going to be pulling from a few different resources for this unit. First of all, I have this book, How to Teach Your Children Shakespeare by Ken Ludwig. I've also been listening to podcasts where they interview him. His passion for Shakespeare, for the language, the writing, for theater, it really shines through, and it got me excited about doing this unit with my kids. So this is going to be a reference book for me as we go through this unit. This book does have an emphasis on memorizing passages, and the first few passages that are covered are from A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is perfect because that is going to be the main play that we are focusing on. We're going to be using another Core Knowledge Language Arts unit. This is also from grade 5, and it is on A Midsummer Night's Dream. Now, because it's grade 5, I am sure I'm going to have to pare it down and modify it significantly for my younger daughter, but I'm really excited to get into this unit and pick and pull what I want from it. As I've already said, I love the Core Knowledge Language Arts units. So this was one I was very excited to sink my teeth into. We're also going to bring in a modern day adaptation. So I've had this on my shelf for like a year and a half. This is Midsummer's Mayhem by Rajani LaRocca. I'm probably butchering that. This is a middle grade novel that is a modern day adaptation of the play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. So we're going to be doing this book as a family read. Read aloud audiobook, probably a combination of the two. We'll enjoy this all together. And I think it's going to be so much fun to tie in a modern day adaptation while we're also learning more about Shakespeare himself, but specifically that play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, memorizing passages of it. I also printed out the classroom resources for Midsummer's Mayhem. So this is from the publisher of the book. You can get this for free online, super easy. I'll have it linked down below. It has information about the book. It has information about the author. It has pre-reading activities, as you read activities. It goes over making inferences, it goes over figurative language, and it has writing activities. So this looks absolutely fantastic. It goes over the themes of the story. It has post-reading questions. So yeah, we love that. We love free resources. Don't sleep on going to a publisher's website or an author's website for novel studies, literature studies, because a lot of the times they will have stuff like this already prepped and ready to use. Authors and publishers want you to enjoy their books with your kids. They want your kids to get the most out of reading the book and studying the book. So a lot of the time, they will already have stuff like this ready for you. Okay, we have one more thing for the summer. I am not exactly sure if I'm going to start this in May or if I'm going to start this in June. It kind of makes sense in my head to do it over 2 months because there's a lot here. So this is an art study unit from Layers of Learning. It is from their Middle Ages art curriculum. It's just one unit from a year-long art study curriculum. And what I have printed here is the printable pack. So these are activity pages. And then there's also a PDF for a guide. Like, I wouldn't say it's quite a teacher's guide, but it does go through the entire unit. It has suggested books and suggested activities and lots of material that you can read together with your kids. So the Layers of Learning units will typically come in those 2 parts. They'll have the main course guide and then your printable pack for each unit. Now, the great thing about this unit is it also dives into Shakespeare. So we start with some of these famous works of visual arts. We have the Mona Lisa, Sistine Chapel. Then a really big chunk of this unit, like more than half of it, is devoted to Shakespeare. So we have Shakespeare retellings and family-friendly films. We have his sonnets. Looks like we're zooming in on sonnet 18. Phrases from Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. So there's a lot here that's just going to coincide beautifully with our Shakespeare unit for June. Once we get ready to come back together for this group study for this Shakespeare unit, if we have, like it looks like we might have, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different resources that are including writing and vocabulary and all these other things, then I might let my girls pause on whatever they haven't finished from their language arts core curricula. I am hoping that they will finish most of that during May, and so then we can really just focus our attention on all of these Shakespeare resources in June, but we'll see how it plays out. So we have stuff for May, we have stuff for June. For July, if everything goes according to plan, we will be taking July completely off. We won't have any like formal lessons or units planned for July. My husband will be home the first week of July. He gets that entire week off. And the main thing that I really want to focus on in July, besides spending time with my husband while he's home and swimming and relaxing, is I really want to do like a very deep declutter of my entire house. I'm sure that that is not my kids' idea of a fun and relaxing summer vacation, but it is so, so needed. We have been in this house for over a decade now. We have 6 people in 1,500 square feet, and we've accumulated. We've accumulated, and I am starting to feel it. My husband and my kids are starting to feel it. When you open a drawer or you open a closet, it's just harder and harder to find what you're looking for. It's harder and harder to keep things looking tidy and organized because there's just too much stuff. So I've already had preliminary talks with my family and sort of set up expectations. I think we're all on the same page. We're ready to be ruthless. We're ready to purge and lighten our load and just make our home feel comfortable again, make it feel like it's working for us and not the other way around. So that will be my main focus for July. Resetting mentally, resetting our space so that we're ready for the 2025-2026 school year come August. I'm excited. I feel really good about our summer plans and I'm ready to get started and to jump in. And we kind of already have, but I'm ready to jump in even more. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed hearing about our summer plans. As I said, I'll have the resources that I've discussed linked in the box below. If you have any additional questions, let me know in the comments or feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'm always free to chat, especially curricula and nerdy homeschool stuff. That's my jam. I will see y'all in the next video. Happy homeschooling and happy summer.